Welcome back, everybody, to another round of Nostalgia TV. We are your graveyard shift or forgotten television shows, and we are back with a Spike television show, Blade, the series starring Sticky Fingers, and developed and brought to the screen by David Goyer and Jeff Johns.
Bastards are gonna own me.
Papa's getting wasted tonight.
I am completely out of ammo.
Cross my heart, smack me dead, stick a lobster on my head.
The situation has indeed worsened. You think?
And when I return, I'm gonna drink a bottle of scotch, as if it were Chicky von Richthofen's blood, and celebrate.
Afraid we're at an impasse.
You really are filthy.
And fine.
Come upstairs and see my etching.
Woo! Sticky Fingers! Gavin, did you get your fingers sticky watching this show, or did you have to get a towel?
Two towels.
Two towels.
38
seconds later.
There were two towels involved in this show a couple times, yes. Yeah.
Were they for bleeding, crying, or do not disclose?
Do not disturb.
Do not disturb.
No, man, there was some really sexy and steamy moments in this show. This was a Spike TV series, and
Yep.
golly, they swung for the fences with this shit with the TNA.
Yeah, they certainly did, and a little bit of the language. So, I mean, of course, this is back in time in like 2006 where things were a little bit loose. I didn't remember how loose they were, apparently, because some of this might not have actually been on TV, or it was just on first run. So, like the first episode, first time they would air it, it would be one thing, but a secondary airing or a rerun would be completely edited. That part I don't know, but that was a common tactic back then for some things on cable.
Yeah, I don't know if things were really that loose still back in 2006. They were pretty free with this shit.
Yeah.
Which was a good thing. Like I'd not caught this on its original airing. I didn't have Spike TV at the time. And this was during that brief period where I didn't have TV in general. Like I was like piggybacking antenna TV still. But I'd heard good things about this show. Like I heard it wasn't campy, it wasn't like The Crow, that it was actually pretty good, and that the chick in it was pretty hot. And
Which one?
I don't know. That's just always what I'd heard.
Oh, okay.
Like, verbatim, that's what I'd heard, and I always meant to pick this up. There's always a copy of it at our local used game store, and I never have. And then when I first started this up and I see the first credits, the opening credits roll, I'm sorry, when I'm past the opening credits, we're starting to see the pilot, and you first see Jill Wagner. I'm like, that lady looks really familiar, super pretty.
Where'd you recognize her from?
I knew it was Jill Wagner. I'm like, son of a bitch, that's oh my God, Jill Wagner's in this shit. And I'm like, I wonder if it's a cameo. And I look at it, I'm like, nope, she's throughout the whole thing. Jill is one of the hosts from Wipeout, and she is hysterical. Basically, she was the person who was interviewing these contestants that were going on this impossible obstacle course for peanuts, basically. Like, you are going to get the shit beat out of you and dysentery from this filthy water that you were getting put into. And Jill was sitting out there interviewing you and then laughing at you getting your ass whooped. And it was fantastic. It truly was. Like, I was in love with Jill in 2007 from like on, however much longer that show was on. So it was super duper cool to see her in an acting role that wasn't like the Hallmark Channel.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't recognize her from anything because I never really watched Wipeout. And my experience with her is basically this show. And the first few episodes, it feels like she's still trying to figure out the character and everything. But by the time you get to about the midway point of the show, she settles in just fine. And by the end of the show, she's great. She really settled into the character. She really evolved into it, and she was able to do a very good job at that point. So if the show had continued, I think she would have excelled.
I think so too. When I say it's nice to see her in something outside of the Hallmark Channel, that's not a diss. Like, she really has a contract through the Hallmark
To me,
Channel.
it is.
I know, me too. But she's contracted through Hallmark that, like, she really only has to do like their like big time holiday movies once a year. So she only really works once a year and then like lives off that dope ass paycheck throughout the rest of the year. So I say go her. That's like the American dream right there.
Hey, you want job consistency and security? Hey, Hallmark Channel is your thing.
Yeah, and it's always like a Christmas movie and shit like that, which are always the same plot.
Yes,
they are hard. some selfish asshole learned something. Yay! The spirits did it all in one night.
Yeah.
All that aside, the moment I found out that Jill was in this no longer was Blade the series. This was now the new Jill Wagner show that's not Wipeout. I'm like, hooray! And then I find out that there's blood in it and butt cracks and side boob and all sorts of stuff. Flash of a titty. Like, it was a really good time.
There was more than a flash of a titty later on in a later episode where there's a couple of strippers and they kept focusing on them for a good several seconds each. Told you, Kevin. You got to get them DVDs or watch this on YouTube because the episodes on YouTube do feature that. Somehow it's gotten through, or it's because I'm logged in and watching restricted content. It's probably age restricted and I don't know about it.
No, I saw it too. And it's like, well, wait a second. How is it that we get dinged that I put a fucking blurbed picture of RoboCop's fake dick, a fake blurbed picture of RoboCop's dick, but they could have a booby flip-flopping around up on there?
No way, Kevin.
No way.
So we can have a Shen.
What'd you think of Shen?
I was missing Whistler for a while, but when they actually started using him, probably around episode 5 or 6, I started to like him, and by the end of the series, I'm thinking, you know what, this is a suitable replacement for Whistler, and he's got his own interesting story, which we haven't even really gotten into. You have to pay attention for comments in passing, and basically, he's with Blade because he's looking for 2 vampires himself, and he's had like no luck tracking them down. And he's working with Blade so they can work together on tracking down his problems and eventually deal with them.
Now, is his character supposed to be related to Scud in Blade 2, where he talks about the 2 vampires?
I don't think so.
Okay. Because he had 2 vampires or 2 female vampires that I don't know that he killed them or they turned him. No, they didn't turn him, obviously, but they attacked him.
Yeah.
He had some weird story like that, but Shin is similar. It felt similar to Scud's character at first without being stupid in any way, because Ritas, they really had him push the stupid teenage aspect. Smart. What's a good way to describe him?
Smart ass.
Pompous ass, precocious youth, just like a real douchebag.
Yep.
Like, I don't know. It was just hard to stomach. And I love Norman Reedus. I'll watch anything he's in. But that character was just fucking annoying. And I'm glad he died. Like, I couldn't wait for him to fucking buy it.
And we'll get to that very soon as well, because Blade 2 is next up on our 0 Point reviews. But by the time you are watching this, that just came out yesterday.
That's true. And you've already known that. So it's not a
Yeah.
spoiler. Haha.
Well, and just to circle back on Shen real quick again, I do appreciate the fact that he was a bit more of a fighter himself, and he actually could handle himself just fine, especially under torture. Wasn't just this typical IT guy that you would think, oh, he's the science nerd, he's IT, he's got brains, oh, he's gonna be stupid. Nope, not stupid. Uh, Dialogue at times is a bit sketch, but I blame that on the writing. But that said, he carried himself very well, and he proved himself to be capable of being a sidekick to Blade.
Yes, he did. I won't keep bringing it up, but more so than Scud. Scud was not that fucking valuable up close. Shen wants to get in there. Like when Blade gets in trouble, Shen's right there, like within minutes on the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Like,
or the car or whatever he's driving.
Yeah, like he's ready to be the backup plan, and that's totally cool. This show kind of needs that because it's got more of a team feel than say, well, I don't want to say anything beyond Blade 2, but I don't know. This movie does construct as a team in a way. It's not solely Blade.
Yeah, well, how'd you feel about that? Like, we're getting more of an ensemble cast than we've had in any of the movies. And also the fact that this is a direct follow-up to Blade Trinity.
Was it a follow-up to Trinity?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well,
it's Goyer. He made sure that this was canon in his own world, anyway.
Okay. Well,
because they referenced the real Whistler multiple times.
Yes, which was fun. Well, to actually see Whistler was kind of a treat in a way.
We'll get to that. I have opinions.
Sexy Blade in the 1970s. Oh yeah. Afro and everything.
God damn it. Everybody had froze.
Blade did had an afro in the 70s though. Like he did.
Yep.
Like
I know.
He looked a little bit like Power Man.
Yep.
Or Luke Cage, whatever you want to call him. But anyway, I didn't mind it. I don't feel like it watered the show down too terribly much. I think that gave the show a bit of a room to breathe with its characters. It didn't feel like it gave chances for characters to have their own stories, which takes away the necessity for filler episodes. And they didn't really have but maybe one or two of those in this series at all.
Yeah. For me, I felt too much like I was missing Chris Christopherson too much. And, and then we're going to a much bigger cast, and now we're going to get into more of the political underworld of the vampires. Felt like we were getting thrown just a bit too much with this show. And ultimately, they kind of calm it down. But I feel like what they were setting up is it was going to continue for the next, 3 or 4 seasons. Whereas before this, Blade could handle the movies on his own and without much dialogue. And so now you're also making a big ask that we have to listen to Blade talk for more than a minute per episode is a big ask. And I don't know. I wasn't feeling sticky fingers when that happened. So.
No.
I think
you're right.
Let me finish that for you before you respond. You keep that in mind, though. I will say by the end of this series, I liked him actually having conversations and dialogue because he wasn't trying to gruff a voice. My main problem stems from the first 6-7 episodes where he keeps trying to do a Batman. Everybody knows about Christian Bale and, hey, Batman, where's Rachel? And
tell me about the rabbits.
You honestly, the first 6 or 7 episodes with Sticky Fingers trying to be Blade, he's trying so many different inflections with his voice. It gets fucking grating on the nerves. shut the fuck up and kill vampires. Nobody gives a shit. Yes, you have your quippy one-liners, stick to that. But we don't need the gruff to just a little gruff to no gruff, back to gruff, to I'm going to try and show some heart. But then in the next scene, fuckers can die. Like, it was all over the fucking place with the direction they gave him and what he was doing. So I got to be honest, fucking annoyed by him for about the first half of the season. The second half, it's like somebody said, that ain't working. Just talk like you think you would. And then it started to work. So it took several episodes from them to fucking fix something that really was annoying for a while.
I wonder if that was a director saying that, or if that was him just finally saying, you know what? I feel like a horse's ass. Like, I don't want to talk like this anymore.
Yeah. Like, there was a definite change, because I have it in my notes for like the first like 7 episodes. Can he just shut up already? And just start killing things? Because when he's just in straight blade mode and fighting in action and just keeping dialogue to a minimum, that was when he was most effective. And that's the way he was in the movies. And this is not saying, oh, he can't fill the shoes of Blade or Wesley Snipes. This is a TV show. Wesley was not going to do a goddamn TV show. If you're going to do a TV show, you're going to have to recast. I thought he at least looked the part, and he did all right for what he could do. Could we have gotten somebody better? Probably, but who? I couldn't tell you. I couldn't give you a name. I know this is like the big topic on this show. What do you think, Kevin?
Mike Colton, I don't know.
Shit.
But he's my favorite in everything. So
He's great.
I don't know. Like, this is not as cheesy and campy as The Crow. This
Correct.
is not and was not as cheesy and campy as RoboCop.
It does get pretty dark at times.
And it's very gross at many times as well. Like, they spared
the gore
no
factor is fantastic.
Yeah, they were not fucking around. Like, they wanted to make a statement with that. Like, they kill infants on this show. I mean, they don't show it, but it's very much implied. There's
the really nasty stuff is implied. Yeah,
there's a lot of spatter that's shown. There's some pretty good practical effects of like protrusions and like broken bones and open wounds. So I mean, it's worth a watch for horror, but the writing and the delivery from Blade specifically is a bit cheesy. When it comes to everybody else in their deliveries, Blade is the weakest link in the show, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm caring more about
the white dude Marcus next to him would be pretty bad, but no, he was actually really good.
Yes, and they they make Marcus a sympathetic character like Thanos eventually. I'm like, fuck. Like,
yeah,
can't we just like not like the guy? Can't we just not like the prick like fucking Frost?
Well, yeah, and yeah, I totally agree with that. Once we had the flashback episode for his life with his first wife before he got turned into a vampire, I'm like, oh, come on. I don't want to like this guy. I want to hate him because you were doing so good at making him a duplicitous fuck. The less you knew about him, the better it would be. And then when we get to that episode, there's something I wrote down, and it's like, we're watching the boring episodes of Highlander, the TV show right now. Hey, I watched the whole show. I like Highlander just fine, but there are times when the flashbacks get very boring, very drawn out. I'm just glad they only kept it to one goddamn episode.
Oh, for time travel and flashbacks.
So,
I don't know. I was just gonna say we learned with Friday the 13th that's pretty old. It gets old fast, but they this episode wasn't like that. It didn't feel like filler. It felt very explanatory. It just like we'd said, you don't want to like Marcus necessarily. You don't want to feel bad for him. But now you get to a point by the end of the season where you're like, oh shit, well now I understand why he's out for revenge. Now I understand why he is that duplicitous piece of shit.
Yep.
And you're kind of like, well, he has to die eventually, but kill as many as you can, man. Go for it.
Yep, trying to take out the purebloods. Well, for House Cathan, that's missing like the A at the beginning. They did that to a lot of names in their show, everybody, where you think it's the way they are pronouncing things. Once you see it spelled out, it's like Cthon, Cathan, or Dominic instead of Dominic. Oh, you didn't catch that?
No, I didn't. But now I can think of like my name is like K apostrophe V-E-N. Kevin.
Yeah, I think on one of the DVD sets, not the one that I have, it actually says like, or the pilot's called House of Cthon, House of Cathan. I think they're trying to do their best to make everything a bit more vampiric and give it a vampiric language like La Magra.
And that's okay because you know what? They did a better job of that in this show than they did in the entirety of part 3. Like,
yep, pretty much.
Like this storyline was better than the entire story of Blade Trinity. It really was. Like,
yeah.
And that was a grand slam story. Hey, we're gonna have Dracula and Blade fight. Woo!
It really wasn't Dracula, but yeah.
Yeah, like you weren't sure where they were going as far as having the Aurora vaccine. Are they trying to like get one up on Blade? And then no, that's just part of a
ruse.
Yeah, it was a red herring, basically, wasn't it? Or
yeah,
what's the word
well,
for it?
Part of it was red herring, part of it wasn't. I feel like
it
got unnecessarily complicated with the plot in this, and they nearly lost the show in the process by trying that.
Oh, fair enough. But yeah, I mean, the way I interpreted it was a catalyst when mixed with that other chemical that I don't know what the hell it was.
Yeah, once they killed like Chase's former lover, who was like a disenfranchised or black sheep vampire from another house. Once they killed him, I'm like, I can kind of see where this is going. They're trying to take out the purebloods, and they just want to make it all these little half breeds and whatnot. That's pretty typical for
equal for everyone.
Yep. Get rid of the hierarchy. Let's be free to be crazy as we want to be. We want to fight for our right to party, bitches.
Yeah, and that's where they started making them sympathetic characters, where you were starting to understand their plight, for lack of a better term. I mean, I don't want to call it a plight, like they were they were enacting genocide, but
no,
it was on murderous pieces of shit anyway. So
yeah, like oftentimes they brought it up, like the enemy of my enemy is, I guess, okay.
Yeah, like Blade tells him, you know, you're ashing vampires. Keep it
doing
up.
it. Yep.
Yeah.
Keep up the great work. He tells that to the druggies when they were making the ash drugs, and then just everybody else. Well, it was super funny, like when we get to the finale, like the plot twist with everything going on. It's like I knew Chase was gonna do something. I wasn't exactly expecting that though. Because when this first aired, like many years ago, I think I only watched about like the first like 3 or 4 episodes. I never finished watching it all the way through. So this is my first time actually catching it all the way through.
I had this on in the background most of the time, being busy this week and taking notes at the same time. And
yeah,
my wife did not enjoy listening to this as much as I did. And because I was taking notes and stopping to take notes, I wasn't paying attention to the things that she was talking about. And she's like, this doesn't sound smart. I'm like, but it looks so cool. Like I can't help it.
She's not wrong.
Yeah, she's not wrong. She's really not. And they changed certain things for the show. And I don't know if it was to tone down. No, it wasn't to tone down the violence, because again, there was a fuck ton of violence in this movie. It's like, or not movie, this show, where they talk about injecting the virus instead of biting people to transplant the virus of vampirism. It's like, that's complicating it. Couldn't we just go back to biting people again?
Yeah,
Like,
I felt like they dropped that part way through.
yeah, because like right after that, Krista infects the cop. Boone, was that his name? Boner, something.
Oh, the Fed.
Yes, Boone. Yeah, Detective
Yeah.
Boone. The piece of shit. He was a great piece of shit, though. I liked him.
Oh yeah, I liked him. I liked Charlotte too, and her Thor bodyguard.
Oh, the little one, the kid.
Yeah,
She was great.
yeah, she was excellent. I'm like, wow, you got somebody that age who could actually do a really good job. Like that stands out for me. So
Yeah, she felt like she was hundreds of years old as a child.
yep, and she was also one of the sickest vampires in the show too.
Yeah, the one that wanted to eat the infants, just hours old. Drink it. Okay.
They don't have the stink of life on them.
Yeah, they don't have sins. Now, what was the purpose of putting a bomb on their plane? Like, it was clearly not a silver nitrate bomb.
I have no clue.
Like,
They thought they would incinerate them, but that is something. There's things like that throughout this show, that is the perfect example of what happened here. No explanation. You could have said this is some sort of special bomb that blew up in their fucking face, caused the plane to crash. Was everybody else just humans? But it sounded like there was other vampires. Don't tell me purebloods can actually survive the impact of a bomb and everything. And while they were hurt, if everybody else has vanished and gone, like what the hell happened?
I don't know. And see, you're right. There's parts in this show where I have to go back seconds to see what I just missed because something changed wickedly.
Yeah, I had to do that several times. And it's like, no, I didn't miss anything. They just didn't say anything.
Yeah. Or there's a part where I feel like I didn't miss a thing and apparently missed an entire episode. Like the episode 9. It felt like it was completely explained going from episode 7 or episode 8 to episode 10. Felt perfectly fine. I don't know what happened in episode 9, but it felt like nothing needed to have happened going from those two, just the way that YouTube had it set up.
Well, it's whoever had it uploaded. There's a problem. If you try and watch this on YouTube, the pilot's not there. You got to track that down kind of separately. And then the rest of the show, it's loaded from like episodes 3 to like episode 13, which is fine. But episode 8 and episode 9 are the same episode. Just episode 9 is named something else. But then once you go to episode 10, that's actually your episode 9, and it goes straight through to the end. So I honestly don't know what the fuck was going on with that.
Like I said, I don't feel like I missed anything. It all felt like it flowed pretty well. Yeah. But watching a natural episode, no, I felt like shit gets missed, especially towards the end.
Yeah.
Like starting with Chase planting that bomb on the plane.
All right.
So, I don't know. It was still cool to see.
Oh, yeah. Well,
it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Too much. All right, Kevin, let's get into some of these episodes here.
All right. Where do we want to start? Are we starting with the pilot?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. So, like, I'm baffled that this takes place after
Trinity.
Trinity, because
Yeah.
that makes me forget that Whistler did die in Trinity. It's like, oh, that's right. Okay. I thought they just wrote the character out for this.
Nope, but they mention Whistler's multiple times, and eventually they do a backflash episode to him, but
And
which
Whistler's
kind of
mentioned,
retcons a bunch of shit. So
yes, and the first time they mention him is by an uncredited cousin Eddie in the pilot.
correct.
Yeah, so I was like, is that cousin Eddie? Holy shit, it is. Hey baby,
Yep.
it's Randy Quaid. That's cool.
Who also drops a reference to a one Mark Spector.
Yes, he
Because he
did.
handles werewolves.
That's right. I forgot how he put it. Like his colleague Mark Spector knows all about that or some shit. I was like, werewolf by night.
Yeah, Krista was asking about, so what about werewolves? Are those real? And he's like, well, I don't know too much about that, but I have a colleague, Mark Spector, who is the preeminent authority on that topic. And I'm like, Mark Spector, I know that name.
Yeah, as soon as I heard that, I was like, fuck, now I want to go watch Werewolf by Night. Damn it.
Yeah, right.
And I guess Moon Knight.
Well, it made you wonder if they were ultimately going to build towards something like a guest appearance or cameo or something.
That would have been fun to see, but you know, in these old shows, they always watered down the other heroes, and I guess I'm
Yeah.
using the Incredible Hulk as the the echelon for that, because they really screwed that up, starting with like when Hulk meets Daredevil and Thor, and like their versions of Thor and Daredevil were so lackluster that like every other Marvel show that tried having and guest appearance by had a lackluster hero. And so I guess this is, I would have expected it to be the same way. But no,
Probably.
when you see characters like the White Prince by the end, they actually put a little bit of time in making him look like a supervillain. Like he was kind of cool looking.
Yeah, he was twisted. He looked like a damn near psycho killer.
Yeah, so I think if they would have had an appearance by like Moon Knight or some shit, it wouldn't have been like super intricate, but it would have looked pretty neat.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it could have been pretty good. We don't know. It never happened and it never will. Well, in this kind of like universe, like what we're getting these days is something completely different anyway.
Yes. So we'll see if Mahershala's Blade brings any of this shit back.
Yeah, but at least in this pilot, we get introduced to Krista, Marcus von Skyver, and Chase, our main crew, vampires galore.
Yes, and we find out again, toning things down, that vampires don't just kill people or bite people to kill them; they shoot them. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why either.
Like that really did throw me off. I'm sorry. I sound put off because it is off-putting. Like they shoot Krista's brother at the beginning. Like we're suckering you to thinking that we're going to turn you into one of us, but then we're going to shoot you when you're not looking and then dump you off the edge of the docks. It's like, you're vampires. You're fucking immortals. This is way more complicated than what it needs to be.
Exactly.
Kill this piece of shit.
Yep. But no, we got to set it up just right, get it staged. It's like you also have a cop on your payroll. You could have done this like way differently.
A cop on your payroll, feds on your payroll. Everyone is in your pocket.
Yeah, which they don't tease like right away about the feds, but they are pretty clear right away with the cops. So
yes. So I mean, the show has weird moments like that where it is a little comparable to say like RoboCop and The Crow.
Yeah.
Where it has those chismoso factors. But they're far and few in between.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling anything was too terribly cheesy. I actually felt like this was a pretty good first well, the pilot is broken up into 2 episodes, but I call it both the same episode anyway. It actually has a pretty good flow and pacing to it, and I really enjoyed the time they took to tell the story and set everything up for the show. Krista getting bit, everything going on, and hey, let's make use of Krista as a double agent. What?
I didn't see that coming. I didn't. Like, I assumed she was going to be the main heroine of the series, of course,
Yeah.
but not as another daywalker. I'm like,
But not a daywalker.
yeah.
True vampire, yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess it's cool. And they had her do some really cool shit. They really did.
Oh, yeah.
Krista's character was fun, and they could have made her a lot worse. I don't know if they could have made her better for what they did. I think they did pretty great with what they did.
Yeah, it did take them a little while to get everything moving, though, beyond the pilot. Like, the pilot sets everything up very well. It just takes like another 3 episodes before it gets the story moving the way they need it to.
Yes.
It felt a little clunky. So, and these days you can't even do clunky the first 3 episodes, or you have a real problem with your show.
Well, no,
this show
gosh.
at least had enough going on. You could look past it. Like, oh, hey, the fight scenes of Blade are great. Hey, Marcus is a nice, sneaky little fucker. And this idiot cop who is now a vampire. Hey, interesting what we're doing here.
Yeah, and then you've got the backstory of the elders and whatnot, or the True Bloods.
Mm-hmm.
So there was plenty to keep you distracted. When one thing was weak, there was something else interesting happening over here. Yeah. And that was one of the charms to this show that I think made it as good as it was. Yeah. I don't know that this show should have been renewed for a second season, but it was fun for its first.
Yeah, I think there would have had to have been some massive changes with the second season if it continued.
Budget cuts.
Well, they probably would have kept it in Vancouver for where they were shooting it. And I think they might have had them pull back on the number of regular cast members.
Well, they were running out. Like,
I think we would have had this group on screen right now and Shen, but like anybody else, nobody else would be a regular character.
Yeah,
or if they had to get rid of somebody here, they'd probably kill Chase within the first 3 episodes of the next season.
I could see that. And have her come back for revenge in like the 4th season, something like that.
Yep, just have her like be very, very sporadic and in the background.
Mm-hmm. The way, what's her name? Not Tasha Yar.
Denise Crosby?
Yes, the way she was when they brought her back as her daughter in Star Trek.
Oh, yeah, when she was the Romulan.
The Romulan hellbent on revenge.
Yeah, that was fine. I actually kind of like that. Yesterday's Enterprise.
She was a bitch. Anyway.
Queen Bee.
Every time I hear that, I hear King Shark from fucking Harley Quinn in the back of my head going, "Oh my God, Beyonce!"
But she got the best music video of all time.
They're approaching and going to attack Mr. Freeze's compound, and like it looks like all these lights are opening up and guards are coming out, and he freaks out because he thinks it's a Beyonce show. But it's Mr. Freeze. Anyway, that's not Blade.
No, but what is Blade is but it's pretty good at setting everything up. And then we hit the next episode. Death Goes On, when I'm gonna read the synopses here. When Marcus keeps Krista from leaving the house of Chthon, she is forced to make her way without the help of Blade or Shen. With Krista unavailable to him, Blade seeks proof of Marcus's vaccine through Reverend Carlisle, a link to the Asher community. Marcus explains the rules of the houses to Krista.
Almost none of that sounds familiar.
Yeah, that is the that's where God, Shaw's on the road. Like he's already been killed by Krista. And he's
Oh,
going to
okay.
South Dakota, and that's when he gets free, yanks his tooth out, cuts his way out of the body bag, and escapes, sets everything on fire. And at the end of the episode, it's like, oh shit, fucker's loose. Detective is on the way back to get Krista, and Krista kills Fritz.
Is that where he's killing off like the truckers and shit like that?
Yep, he's going off the truckers, and poor Mr. Fritz, bodyguard number 1 for Marcus, gets his head cut off by a street sign. Way to go, Krista.
That was dope. That was dope. And
yeah, that actually, I'm like, where the hell did that come from?
Yeah,
somebody
I
just have
love
a
that,
fun
like,
idea. Hey, let's use a street sign.
Krista goes out on all these missions and kills her team just so or will talk to Blade and then kills her team just so no one knows that she did talk to Blade, and then has to have some excuse on how she survived. And by the end of the series, she's getting mutilated just so she could have that excuse.
Yeah. You know, in these early episodes, she was definitely feeling like, you know what? She clearly was not fully turned, because when she's under the effects of the serum that Blade gave her in the pilot episode, and Blade's got this stash of serum that'll last like a lifetime. Kudos to Doctor in the first Blade movie. Apparently, you made him a ton of this shit to last a lifetime. And when she's not using the stuff, she seems like she'd make a really good villain, like a really good vampire too. There comes a point in time when she actually stops taking this stuff entirely. But when she's on it, I'm like, you are so insufferable that I'm surprised the vampires don't see right through you and be like, this bitch is like doing something here. Something's definitely amiss. Let's go raid her room, find what's going on. And I had this like sick, twisted thought of what I would do is if I was the vampire House of Chthon, and we found all those blue vials, dump out the serum and put blood in it, and just give it a blue food coloring or something like that.
Blue food coloring. Take the oxygen out of it, make it blue again.
Yeah. And that way she'd still be injecting real blood, and she'd be like, this stuff isn't working anymore. It would have given a different sort of complexity to the show, I think. But it's very unnecessary.
Good. Well, yes, and then they bring in the whole aspect of addiction into the play too. So
that's true.
Blade tells her, "You're just an addict, and that's what you are." It's like, you're not better than me, piece of shit. We're all addicts because of you, Eric. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep. Way to go, Eric. Truck pusher. You ain't Shaft, brother.
Shaft. He's no bad blood.
You know, in this episode, I also felt like Chase was stepping up as a pretty good secondary villain. So,
yeah, like when it comes to hinching, Chase is pretty good. She doesn't waver. Like she's a good backup for Krista. She's a good foil for Krista in a way. Like I know she would like toss Krista under the bus the moment she could if she had the decent enough chance to do it. But she's more than fair with her. Like because Marcus wants her to give her the chance, she goes out of her way to be nice to Krista. And it's like, huh. Okay, like she really does have that loyalty to her boss.
Yeah.
Like you would have figured in some other show she would have tried to kill Krista secretly.
That is very true. Don't worry, everybody. He'll be right back. We're resolving a computer technical difficulty here.
I'm back.
What's up, bitch?
Oh, nothing. Just me. I need my slides back. Oh, here they are. Sorry.
No, don't apologize. We are now back from our technical difficulties, and Kevin was just testing out his little slides. And did you want to talk about any of those, or are you saving those for particular episodes or topics?
No. You know what? None of these have anything to do with any episodes at all. All of these are promo stills, and they're the worst fucking thing I have ever seen.
Yeah, that looks pretty bad.
And they get worse
Ooh, kinky.
and worse.
Oh my, really? That was one of the stills?
Yeah.
That's actually pretty bad. He looks like an action figure.
Yeah. No, give me action. Freeze.
Throw the coat back and bend those knees.
And then, I got off on a bit of a tangent. Like, wow, this is just like, I know it says Blade and Spike TV, but this looks a lot like FHM magazine. And I'm totally here for it. Whoops. That's an old
She's
one.
got the stuff.
There's a camel toe too. I just wanted to throw that out there.
And you want to throw it in there is what you want to do.
Whatever.
Right.
No, that's wrong.
Oh, whatever, Kevin. Can't demonetize us on that one.
He's married.
Everybody's married.
And socially dead. Anyway.
Well, nobody's married in this fucking show. They're all banging each other anyway.
Yeah, and property somehow of one another.
Yeah.
Which wasn't off-putting or weird, and that was the weird part about it. Like, oh, okay, she belongs to him.
Yeah, and I'm buying her so she could belong to me.
Yeah, and I made you,
But
so
I'm
you
not
belong
buying
to me.
you. I'm rescuing you. I was like, what the fuck? Who is writing this shit? Way to go, Goyer.
Goyer. Who is QA here?
Goyer.
Goyer.
Certainly not Jeff Johns, who was working on this show, but
I respect everyone individually.
Yeah.
To a degree.
I don't. I think Goyer needs a filter for everything he does.
No filter for everything he does. Yeah, he shouldn't be brought in to fix things necessarily. Be fixed. Be fixed.
Oh, so you want David Goyer fixed? Okay, we'll get him in for his spay appointment on the 23rd.
The Bob Barker treatment.
Yeah, get your pet spayed or neutered, or your middling writers.
Your middling writers, get your She-Hulk staff spayed and neutered.
Yep, or call KEVIN and get that shit fixed.
Get that shit fixed today.
All right, episode 4, Descent. Blade pursues a contact in the house of Armaya, who has information on Marcus's experiment while Krista accompanies Chase to an AA meeting for an unexpected meal. Krista, I forgot about that. Krista tells Blade about the vaccine called Aurora and agrees to procure a sample. FBI agent Ray Collins somebody wrote this like shit. FBI agent Ray Collins' investigation of Trooper Hirsch's murder leads him to Boone, a cop turned vampire. So this is the follow-up to the previous episode where the cop is killed at the end, and we pick up right at the beginning with Mr. Collins investigating the scene, and now going on a several episode investigation where he miraculously finds everybody without much searching at all.
Although I did like the FBI agent. Agent Collins was cool.
Once he figured out what was going on with the FBI itself directly, that's when he got interesting with his story.
Yes.
Otherwise, it was like 3 episodes in a row of like, how the hell is he finding all this information without even barely looking?
I'm cleaning up after all this shit. I'm cleaning up. That's really what he was doing, was cleaning up after all the bodies.
Yeah. Ash turned bodies.
Ash turned bodies. Except for this one here. It's like he got up.
Well, he goes to one location, he automatically finds this is the book I'm looking for. I go to this location, this is the file I'm looking for. It's only the third one I've looked at. Like, can you make this guy do like any real work? Because this just does not happen, period, in real life.
These are only
You know,
40
just
minute
walk in
episodes.
and within 2 minutes you find everything you're looking for and you scurry on your merry way. That's not how this works. Goyer.
It's just lazy writing.
Get in Brad Wright or Joseph Malozzi to write some shit. Jesus Christ.
You know, I mean, the interesting part of this episode, or the reveal, was that they're experimenting. Aurora is being conducted on other vampires.
Correct.
Against their will. And I enjoyed that aspect of it. Like, oh shit, they're taking other covens, like abducting vampires from other covens.
Oh yeah.
And using them for scientific experiments under the risk of going like full-blown vampire war. Like, how cool was that? I enjoyed that aspect of it.
Yeah, I appreciate the detective work going on, at least with like Blade. He actually seemed like he was actually doing a lot of the work. And I really like, this is the episode where I really started to like Krista, and that she was actually becoming more of an interesting character instead of just like, what are we doing with this girl? Why is she even on this show? Are you going to kill her in the next episode or two and move on to something else? I don't know what we're doing here. At least with this episode, it got me off of that kind of mentality.
Tell her to put down the Beretta. It doesn't look cool against vampires.
Well, she got skewered through the back and she was healing up. And Marcus was hitting on her. And so was Chase.
Was Chase hitting on her too? Is this the three ways?
Chase hit on her multiple times.
Kinky.
Chase was.
And we're here for it.
Totally. I know you're a big fan of Jill. I was a big fan of Miss Chase over here, though.
I think, like, quality wise, they were both pretty wonderful.
Yeah, they had some great chemistry between the two of them, and it really came across on screen. I almost had this feeling of, you know, when the cameras stop, they're probably laughing and making jokes together and having a fun time.
More than likely, yes. Probably lots of snorts and giggles.
Yeah. But did you like the cop going around Boone at all in this episode?
Yeah, actually I did. He was a really, really good sleazebag. Like,
he's a piece of shit. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not redeemable in any way, shape, or form.
No.
He's a wild animal that's only out for himself, and he was a pretty goddamn perfect, like, scavenger vampire. Like, if they would have, he would have been one of those characters that they could have been bringing him back once or twice a season, and it'd be an event.
Yeah, I could see that. No, I don't remember. Do they end up killing him though?
I honestly don't recall either. If they did, it was very unceremonious.
I want to say the last time we saw him, he was in the protection of the house of Maya. Because they showed him off. They're like, how did you know all this information? Then they show him off, and no, they showed somebody else. Shit.
You're right. I don't recall.
I
don't see it in. I don't see it in my notes.
I don't either. Huh.
Let's see here. In episode 6, they track Boone down. I think they kill Boone. Riveting podcasting, kids. I know.
Yeah, I don't think we get him back.
Riveting writing, kids. We know. Damn it,
Yeah,
Goyer.
they're hunting Boone in episode 5, and in episode 6, they go after Boone.
And then they kind of drop it once they get to the vampire babies. Come episode
Yeah,
7.
kind of.
Which weren't vampire babies at all, apparently.
No. Well, anyway, enough of that. Episode 5, Bloodlines. Reverend Carlisle sets Blade up to get captured by the Bad Bloods. Disenfranchised vampires Blade first turned, and who were once his childhood friends, Chase takes Krista to the house of Lycan for a blood ritual that will help track Boone, the former detective she turned.
I liked this episode.
Yeah, I like this one too, and I appreciate. Is it the next episode where they actually go to House Lycan?
I think so.
Yeah, because at first I'm like, Lycan, that's a vampire term. And then I realized it's actually spelled like the German spelling of, it's more like Leischen, but they pronounce it like Lycan.
Oh.
Liechen.
Oh. So
Chen. Jesus Christ.
Gotcha.
But, no, I kind of like this episode. The only thing I didn't like was who they cast as Razor. The big guy who escaped at the end of the episode, who was trying to kill Blade. You know, his gang, there was like only one left standing.
Oh, Bokeem? Oh,
Yeah.
dude, I love him. He's awesome. He plays Lucky's dad in Ghostbusters.
Okay.
And he's Shocker in Spider-Man.
Okay. I didn't like him in this. I thought he was pretty bad.
The whole concept was bad. They were.
Yeah, I didn't like this idea to fucking begin with.
It was a 70s.
So he ran with a gang,
gang,
and he turned them. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? Specifically in the movies, they say he left bodies in his wake when he was young and turned. No, now he was a gang member who got turned. Like, what the fuck? I was just completely confused by this episode. I mean, I like it, but I didn't like this particular story aspect of it, though.
Yes. Well, I mean, again, it was a little loose as far as its continuity goes.
See $2 whores with looser standards than this.
more concise contents.
Gee, Jeff, we see where you spend your money at.
Meet us at concise contents.
Monetize that.
I'm gonna have that be a store now. Concise contents.
Concise contents. But there's a few good parts about this episode. I really do like Steve Basic as Frederick in this, and that's Chase's ex-husband. I appreciate him. He's been in a few different shows. The most people would recognize him from is probably Andromeda. That starred Kevin Sorbo.
He very much reminded me of the way Zac Efron looked in The Iron Claw. And I was like, whoa, did Zac Efron get buff and young and then get older and then, oh, wow, okay. He was a good looking guy.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, him as Frederick worked for me. They did the bloodbath was fun. And the other thing I wrote here was the Fed file with Star was a lame setup.
The Fed file was...
He found the file on Zach Star. This is what I was talking about a minute ago. Like within 2 files, he finds the
Oh.
star, he reads about it, and he figures out information like within like a split second on, oh, hey, I need to go find Krista.
Oh, okay.
I
Because
was
that's
just like,
her.
come on, like, do some real research. Don't, hey, I'm going to pick up this notebook over here. I'm going to find, oh, I found the answer. Oh, and I need to go here. All right, sweet.
We're just gonna find the cliff notes.
Yeah. But at least it ends on the bloodbath where Krista's got to jump in and get submerged so she can figure out where the hell Boone is. And because she's got this connection to anybody she's ever turned, just like she has a connection to Marcus who turned her. And that becomes a plot point in the next few episodes.
But not very strong.
Nope.
At least it didn't feel very strong.
No, they just get the last final traumatic memory of that person before they were turned.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But then you can also sense like where your people that you're turning, you can get a sense for where they might be at or where they're going.
Right. Right. You could
Fucking goddamn. We're trying to break this down. It's like it's so complicated.
we feel like there should be a whiteboard behind us where we could like start pointing out how all these things work and tied together. Like
Yeah.
the sunlight
like I said,
will
this show
kill
is
them.
unnecessarily complicated at times.
These two are fucking, but
But Marcus is also fucking Krista later.
these two are also fucking, but so are these two.
And then Shen's fucking them both too.
But not these.
But no.
Because they're racist.
They don't like 3-ways.
Ernie doesn't like the other monsters.
I mean, yeah.
Anyway, totally lost off what we were talking about. Past bad bloods.
Bloodlines and
Bloodlines.
relationships and kinky sex parties.
Which is kind of what vampire shows are supposed to be about. They're all sexual.
Oh yeah, they kept that alive during this. You feel like you might be watching a little bit of Twilight while you're watching this, but it never gets too far into that territory.
No, it doesn't, does it?
Nah.
Yeah.
All right. Episode 6, Evil Within. The bloodbath in and of itself was a bit lame. Krista comes out of that. She's got some visions about where Boone is at. They go to track him down, and it comes to a confrontation about that where they think they might have killed him, and he escaped. He convinced 2 vampires that they accidentally killed another vampire, that they really killed him.
Yeah. And he
hid behind a fucking door.
They couldn't smell him. They couldn't hear him.
None of that.
They didn't look behind the door.
Yep.
At all. Period. And it looked really cheesy and stupid. Like as stupid
and it
as
really
it sounds.
played out like that.
I mean, like the explosion, the shot through the door was cool.
Oh yeah.
The ashing was fun. But yeah, they're like the most unthorough assassins I've ever seen.
Yeah, they're supposed to be this top flight crew. You know, Chris is supposed to be a former military person who was discharged, or I didn't even catch like what exactly happened with her, but you know, we understand that like freaking Chase is supposed to be this kind of right-handed badass, and neither of these two could figure this shit out. Oh my god. And the first time Krista sees real blood, she's like, blood. Stop a murderer or drink. Stop a murderer or drink. I was like, oh dear God. We're really doing it. Even Chase runs right by her and she's like, what the fuck is your problem? And even Marcus is like, you stopped for a snack in the middle of a mission? What are you doing?
Yeah. What do you do?
It was blood. I was hungry.
I was there. It was there. Deal
It's
with
just gonna
it.
go straight to your hips, honey.
Fat ass.
You wouldn't complain anyway.
Blood retaining sea cow.
The only thing I got about this episode is Charlotte gets introduced, and I'm like, I like her right now.
I like that they show her being brought in, like
Like a
literally
little
being
rag doll.
Yes, like this little child, who I'm sure is probably as tall as I am, is being brought in by this 8 foot tall man who's carrying her
huge,
like an
dude.
infant, as tenderly as a father would.
Yep.
And like she is the most like savage son of a bitch on the show, or supposed to be one of the most savage sons of bitches on the show, and she's not. She's really not as scary as she'd like to think she is.
She's scary up until her last moment. And I'm like, boy, you did her character very dirty. That was not okay.
What happened? Because like the last I'd seen of her is like they got blown up on the plane and then needed to refresh themselves on the ground.
Oh, you didn't? So then you never got to see the Monsters episode.
I think I did. I know I wrote stuff down for Monsters.
Because but that's where, let's see here. Blade and Detective Collins team up to track down Pureblood Charlotte and Marcus, and plans to present the experiment to the Pureblood Conclave. And what happens in that is Blade ends up beating up Thor and killing Charlotte.
I only vaguely remember that. I remember him killing the agent, like Compassion killing the agent.
Yeah, and then the last part of that episode, he beats up Thor, kills Thor, and he kills Charlotte in a bitch move.
I don't recall that at all. Like I think I'm pretty sure I remember the fight between Thor, just not Charlotte.
Well, it wasn't much of a fight. Like he stabs. So she killed Collins, and in his throws, he stabs Collins to finish him off. And after that, Charlotte's in that same stairwell. She's up on the wall and she's talking to him about, hey, I want you to come work for us.
Yeah.
You need a home. Let's find some sort of path to like a truce so we could take out Marcus together and you could come home. It'd be easier to bring you in than any other sort of like twisted half-bloods or anything like that, because you're the fucking Daywalker.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's a great idea. And then he just throws a batarang at her and kills her.
Oh. Okay, so I guess I blinked and missed it then, because I remember that scene very well.
Yep.
Like she was talking about how like he's not as dirty as an infected vampire, because he was born the way he was.
Correct.
Huh. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I guess I just blinked.
I guess. But that's what happened. He killed Charlotte like nothing. I'm like, okay, if she's like this top shelf pureblood, you shouldn't be able to smoke her just like that. Like he completely took away a lot of the build up for her. Like they were building her up to be some twisted little bitch, survives a plane crash, survives this, that, and the other. And then he just takes her out with the head of his little batarang system.
But he's the Daywalker, baby. That's the way it's supposed to be.
I don't know, just my opinion.
No, you're probably right. Like again, like it's extremely unceremonious.
Oh, right.
Really, to like, I don't know that we necessarily needed to have seen Blade kill any of the purebloods in season 1. Like if that was going to happen, it could have happened in season 2. Let
That's what
Marcus kill the purebloods to show how awesome Aurora is or was. Should
right.
have been.
But then we wouldn't have gotten the whole, you thought you were swerving us, well, we swerved you. After you thought you swerved us, we swerved you again.
Yeah.
It was one of those
Never.
kind of endings, everybody. He's like, haha, I got you. They're like, no, we got you. No, I got you. No,
Ha ha
we
ha
really
ha.
got you. Because that's when you find out that Chase betrays them all.
Yes.
Because she said specifically, per our deal, first Marcus, then Blade. And when it came to that, once you saw that the hoses were cut, I'm like, yeah, that was Chase. This was part of the plan the whole fucking time, with or without Charlotte. She didn't give a shit.
Oh yeah, like she was gonna get ahead.
Yeah,
Bless her
she
sassy
should have
little
taken
heart.
ahead. Just saying. Okay, well, after Evil Within, we get delivery. Krista runs into Uncle Pat at a gate with Marcus and learns her mother is ill. With Chase injured, Marcus sends Krista to get research subject Vanessa back from Blade, the pregnant lady who was wasn't carrying a baby at all.
So this is where things started getting more complicated than what they needed to have been.
Bingo.
Were there vampire babies? No. Should there have been vampire babies? I don't know. But
I'd say that's kind of 50-50 for me.
To swerve you and say that there are vampire babies and then have there not be vampire babies lets you think that there's vampire babies for 2 episodes at least. And at the very end of that episode and go, no, there's really not. And that wasn't important anyway. Next episode.
Nope, gotcha.
It really made it feel like filler for me.
Yeah, we're about to hit a couple episodes where it's like, yo, you had 13 total episodes if you break up the pilot into 2. And this is the best you could do for 13 episodes? Wow. Okay, you're really dragging this out now.
Again, it was better than The Crow. Much better than The Crow.
Yeah. But it still felt like they were dragging it out just a little too much and made it unnecessarily complicated. Whereas The Crow did not do that.
No, they just went to court.
That's true. Just like everybody else these days.
I'm a supernatural figure that's going to get his day in court.
Yeah. Let's see. No baby, just fluid. Krista gets beat up, and Charlotte is a boss.
Charlotte is a boss. She sits.
I didn't have too many notes on this.
On the delivery? Yeah.
Yeah. Mostly because like Blade is just being Blade. He keeps dreaming and having visions back to his childhood or whatever.
Oh, who was this? Gosh, I don't even. Oh, in episode 8, the sacrifice. The friend of his that owned the store that was teaching him to play chess. Hiro Kanagawa.
Yep.
I love him. He plays Principal Quan in Smallville, and he gets taken out like a bitch in that show, and that pissed me off so bad because I loved Principal Quan. I don't know why. I just always did. Like, he took nobody's shit in that show.
Damn right.
But yeah, he's only in it for 1 episode in this series, and that was kind of sad, but I was really glad to see him.
Oh yeah, like some of the cameos are pretty good for when they bring in like a good face or an actor that you might recognize. They bring in Tom Butler later as the architect who's helping out setting up the dome and whatnot, and he ends up getting a little reward, so to speak, from the vampires. And Blade takes care of both the reward and Mr. Butler. Let's just say it's an eye for an eye.
An eye for an eye.
Or he's got his eye out on him. You know, what would have been funny is a nice reference to Demolition Man with that. They had the eyeball. They had Blade.
Put
You could have
it
said,
on the stick.
Yep.
I
Just
see
put it
you.
on a stick. Just saying. Just saying.
They had the opportunity to be nasty. They didn't.
Nah. All right. So, yeah, we're on Sacrifice. Any other thoughts on that one, or
I don't think so.
because it ends with Krista and Gwyneth beating up the FBI guy? Or no, that's what they start like the next episode with. But at the end, you know, Collins faces up with them. So it's like, and then he realizes both of them are vampires, and he's like, "Oh shit!"
I'm in over my head. There's real monsters.
You know, it's also a Blade backstory episode for Sacrifice. Killing all of Old's Blade non-vampire friends as a kid. I'm like, so when were they? Where were they the last like fucking like 10 years that this movie's been a franchise?
Yeah. Is this the one where they brought his dad back?
No, that was
Or is that
maybe it was this one. Yeah, it's this one. Blade's dad alive. What the fuck? And they also brought in Whistler in this episode, a very young Whistler. And when they brought Whistler in, I'm like, quit reminding me of somebody that would be so much better in this show.
Kind of, yes. And again, if it wasn't canon with Trinity, then we might have had a Whistler, an Abraham Whistler in this show.
Yeah.
But I mean, at least we got to see how his leg got broken. That was kind of cool.
That's true.
But otherwise, it was kind of a cock tease. It was really nice to see, but it was a cock tease. I really would have wanted to see that vampire hunting show with the young Whistler.
Oh, yeah.
We could always dream. Anyway.
Could always dream. Yeah, I don't know. Most of the Whistler stuff was like, it felt forced to me at times. Like, you're really trying to tie this back into the movies and everything and reference it. It's like, you know, Blade wouldn't be this sentimental. He just wouldn't be. He's a vampire killing machine.
About all those people?
No, about like all those people. Like it's never come up before, and now all of a sudden they're there, and now they're dead. Like what the fuck?
Yeah,
and
probably
he never kept
not.
track on them. Yeah.
Least of all,
you would
his
think
dad.
Shen would have him under like some sort of surveillance or something, so that he could keep an eye on him if that was the case.
Yes. Or that Whistler would have at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Turn the screw. Chase meets up with an old flame, Alex, a wealthy pureblood who encourages her to leave Marcus. Blade and Krista try to track down Krista's mother, who is now on the loose and a vampire. Detective Collins investigates Boone and gets a meeting with Marcus.
So this is where it starts to get a little bit more fun.
Yeah, I like this episode, actually.
So having to find psychopathic mommy was really funny.
Psycho mom.
She was wanting to eat everything. They did a really good job with making her this scared animal that was finding her way in the food chain.
Yeah.
And dominating her way through it. And then losing that fear. it was fun to see, but at the same time, golly, was it cheesy because it's this little old lady just fucking decimating all these people.
total straight killer mode too. It's like not even an ease into it, but by the time they finally get her under control, she's already fed like several times. They're trying to jack her up with the serum and it ain't working. It's like somebody got to kill her.
Yeah, and like they're just waiting around, like, I'll do it. Pick me,
Over
I'll do
here.
it. I'm
We'll
good
take
at
care
this.
of it. Don't worry about it.
It's literally my name. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like you kind of saw that she was going to turn her mother into a vampire coming. Like
Oh, yeah.
that it was very, very like telegraphed.
Predictable.
But I lost my mom and she's loose in the streets. That I enjoyed. I don't care how cheesy that was. That was cool. I enjoyed that aspect of it.
You know, yeah, Krista was fine in this episode. I actually didn't mind any of that story arc. I actually liked a bit of it. It was just cheesy that mom was a complete psycho. They'd been setting up for a few episodes that Krista was going to do this because she stole a bunch of serum from Blade. Then they figure it out. And then the second they figure it out and they're at Krista's house, she's like, I lost my mom. It's like, did she have her life alert on her? You know, that might have helped.
Where did you see her last? Right here?
Oh, no. Well, you better think about it or somebody's dead. Well, and then we start losing like Uncle Pat and everything.
He needed to go. He was kind of an annoying ass.
Yeah, I didn't really like his character much at all.
I didn't like any of her family, really, other than her.
Yeah, all of them were bitches.
Like, I've lost everyone. You're better off. Like, you're doing really well right now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have made her mother a vampire. She was kind of annoying. Can
Yeah.
you imagine listening to that forever?
Well, she loved her mommy.
Forever.
Well, vampirism, the cure for everything. Yeah, but at least, you know, Gwyneth got smoked and poor Charlotte lost her investigator and her feeding buddy.
That was cool. Was that the chick that Krista killed?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yep. That was pretty rad to see her get into a real straight up fight scene with somebody and had her punch the glass mirror.
She had to keep her cover.
And then stabbed her with it. What you didn't know
silver.
that silver is, yeah, in a mirror.
Which, how long has it been since mirrors have been lined with silver? 100 years or more? I don't know.
Yeah, that had to be some sort of real antique. I just kind of struck my head. I'm like, no.
Like, is that the mirror from Amityville 4? I don't know.
You know what? That actually could be interesting if that was something like that.
It's a cursed mirror.
Like we've had this mirror in our family for like 200 years or something, or 150 years. Jesus. Or, you know, it could have been something. They could have thought of a better explanation than just that. But
yes. But again, lazy writing. This is Spike TV.
yeah, they also gave us the Joe Schmo show.
Yeah.
Season 1 was fine. Season 2 was terrible.
I didn't watch it. I'll take your word for it.
Yep, I'll take my word for it too. But, you know, I did really like, you know, Chase hooking up with her old flame. And then turning her back on him in the very end and getting him killed.
That was cool. I liked watching him melt. And I liked watching her stand there.
That was gnarly, dude.
Despite the arterial spray and the spatter. Like, she had her safety glasses on, but that was about it.
Yep. Well, this is only going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt me. But I love you. Well, I
and everything you're doing
appreciate
for
that, and I
us.
love everything you are doing for us right now by dying. That was so cold. I'm like, I love this girl.
Well, like she had a point where he's telling Marcus, "You'll only ever be an infected human," and she's like, "Thank you for reminding me of that," because that's what
Yep,
she was too. So, like, the purebloods just kept reminding her that despite what they treated her as, they still viewed her as a lowly speck.
exactly.
So she had no place in their world.
Nope, and then just gave her more ammo for the fire for her, so she would go on doing her job.
True.
So true. So true as Angels and Demons, episode 10. Krista goes on a bender, becoming unavailable to both Marcus and Blade. Blade learns Marcus's experiment has more to do with the purebloods. Krista finds out about Marcus's past life when she regrets or when she repeats her after death experience.
Oh, so this must have been what I missed.
Oh, where she went drinking?
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole episode started off with her drinking and getting mad at everybody trying to hit on her.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah.
Well, in my opinion, this episode was incredibly boring. Almost a waste of time. You missing it, you missed fucking nothing.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It doesn't sound like from what I watched, it sounded like it felt like it flowed very well. Like I didn't miss anything.
And this is the episode that featured a lot of Marcus's backstory. And at the end of the episode, Krista's actually sleeping with Marcus at this point, straight up.
Maybe I did see that then, because I saw that, and then Blade was spying.
Yep.
Because he's nasty.
Yeah. But to the point that you wouldn't remember some of this is it was largely a boring episode and it felt completely unnecessary.
Fair enough.
And that's all I got for notes on this, other than ripping off a few unsavory scenes of graping people.
See, that's what I have in episode 11. You're talking about Marcus's wife?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
Angels and Demons episode 10.
Oh, I thought that was Hunters.
Hunters is episode 11.
Well, then my notes are all crisscrossed. But yeah,
We've been good up until this point.
that was weird and awkward. Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna do my diddle back here, but then drink her back. Okay,
yeah.
like pick your poison.
Stupid.
Which way?
I don't know. This episode
guy?
kind of lost me. I was just like, oh god, this is so dull, uninteresting, boring, and unnecessary. Just completely unnecessary. We don't need a backstory to Marcus.
Why does a pureblood vampire, have a racketeering business?
Yeah.
I don't understand that. I'm writing down in my notes. They're racketeers. They're shaking people down in businesses and shit like that. They have immortality, but they're shaking people down.
Yep. We got a
lazy writing.
All organized mob up in here.
It was stupid.
Yep. Stupid and not really worth any more time discussing about that. Next episode, Hunters. Blade and Shen learn about the resurgence of the White Prince, an infamous vampire serial killer who they think is working out of a Detroit nightclub. After feeding on Marcus, Blade forces Krista into isolated detox. Charlotte invites Chase for a visit and makes her a proposition.
This was filler, but
except for the Charlotte and Chase stuff.
Yes, but see, this is where she was caged up, and he calls her an addict, and you think she's escaped at the end, but she's just really just kicked the door open or whatever, and then just stayed in her cell being a
Yep.
brat. But the rest of it, like the way that the guy looked, the White Prince, was kind of cool. The rest of them made no sense. Like as a vampire,
Yeah.
pulling teeth out of people and rearranging, and the whole religious aspect to it made zero sense whatsoever.
They never should have taken the mask off of him was my one kind of comment about this in the episode.
Kind of, yeah.
Because
Like,
when they
he
took
just-
the mask off, he's just this plain looking dude. I'm like, yo, come on. You could have kept the mask on him and we didn't know who he really was.
Well, he was supposed to have disfigured himself with silver.
Yep.
And they didn't do a really good job of like disfiguring him with that way. Like
No,
they put
they just
some
made him an
designs on his
albino.
face. Yeah. Like it wasn't as cool as the mask. Like the mask was scary and should have been hiding something even more grim.
Bingo.
And it did not. And see, you look at James Howlett that way. Leatherface is scary. James Howlett is, you can't look at him without freaking out and pissing yourself. Like,
Correct.
mask is one thing, face is another.
Yeah.
So anyway, I know that sounded weird, but Leatherface has two faces, sometimes 4 or 5.
It just reminds me of watching Terrifier 3 the other night.
Oh, are there face peels?
Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, I can tell you where to go see it if you want to. And on the next episode, because I don't have much else on that one, I really did like the Hunters episode, though. I loved the White Prince Psycho Killer episode, Jason Charlotte. I didn't really get a kick out of like Krista's part in this. It was just kind of lame. But Monsters, episode 12. Blade and Detective Collins team up to track down pureblood Charlotte. Marcus makes plans to present the experiment at the Pureblood Conclave. And this one, I really enjoyed this one, but they did my girl dirty. They killed Charlotte like a little bitch.
Yeah. I mean, well, like you said, it was very unceremonious. I remember the conversation. I remember her trying to turn Blade. I remember everything about that except for him killing her.
Yep. It's okay, Kevin.
The important part.
Because if you'd remembered that, you'd probably be irritated too, being like, well, that was anticlimactic. Jesus Christ. I mean, I like the betrayals and everything going on in this episode. So I enjoyed that. And we're clearly being set up for the final episode.
Yeah.
Which you think is just going to be a typical kind of conclusion. And it kind of is. But I did appreciate, Blade actually tracking down Shen, tracking down Tu, and ultimately just we're building to the end. And it felt like we're finally dialing everything in. All the characters have their characters down. Storylines are coming together pretty neatly at this point, even though there's a little too many of them. And we unfortunately have to say goodbye to Collins just as I was really starting to like him.
Yeah.
FBI guy.
And he's not coming back because Blade shivs him through the heart.
Yeah.
A mercy killing so he doesn't come back. Which was Collins' request. Like, no, you promised. Kill me. Come on. Yeah.
Yep. Gotta touch tips first.
Like, it was kind of weird the way he was like, no, don't you leave without killing me.
Yep.
I don't know. It was
I think
okay.
I might have
It was a good action scene. That's what this episode was a good action sequence.
A lot of really good action sequences. Blade facing Thor was fantastic.
Yeah.
That was like a true boss battle. And then I could see the argument of like, well, after all that, you really want him to go one-on-one with Charlotte, another possible badass? Like, can't have two boss fights. Yeah, you fucking can.
You could
And
have
you
a
could have
boss
had them
fight that's
fighting each
bigger.
other. Oh, I was just gonna say, like, you could have had like the end of this episode, him and Charlotte facing off while Marcus is dealing with the conclave and not knowing that he's about to get screwed with by Chase and whatever Krista's going to be up to with Shen. Because at
Yeah.
the end of this last episode, Shen is captured and hauled off and imprisoned or kidnapped, and they start to torture him. So they could have had it split nice and easy where you didn't know what was going to happen, and Blade shows up at the end of episode 13, and then you get a nice little standoff that could end for a good cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And Conclave. Marcus makes the final move on the Purebloods and also discovers the whereabouts of Blade and Shen's main hideout. This leads to a final showdown between Marcus and Blade, as well as Krista and Chase. This was a pretty good final episode, in my opinion. Not exactly sure I dug how it ended on the cliffhanger of Marcus being like, "And how long have you been working with Blade?" Dude, you already know the fucking answer. What the hell are you doing here?
Since before the pilot, you dick.
Yep. Jesus.
I don't know. Like the series had a pretty fun third act until it didn't. And then it was then it was a bit lackluster.
Yeah.
That would be the best way I could put it. But I didn't dislike it. That was the weird thing about this show.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree, too. I mean, I have many issues with it. There's pacing issues. There's directorial choices that happened. Well, I mean that by direction of characters. The writing at times is a bit sketch. All over the place. There's too many plot holes, inconsistencies, motivations changing, dropping plots. I mean, I know. Welcome to watching television 101, but it felt like this could have actually been a better show if they had better people running it.
Probably because all the actors are pretty good.
Yeah, I do not blame the actors for any of this. I put that more on the actual writing of the scripts and people telling certain people to, hey, try this voice, try this inflection. Sticky, once he got to this last half of the show, like I said, he stopped trying to do the voices, as I'm going to call them, and he's just started having his own voice. It's like, you should have let him have his own voice from the word go to make this unique and different. Not try and mimic like Wesley Snipes' Blade for like 6 episodes. That was completely ridiculous and unnecessary. Because by the end of this, you're feeling like, I can get behind this Blade guy. It works. He's fine. He's got good physicality. It's not like he can't handle the role.
And when he feels natural, you're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he wasn't a bad Blade. Not at all.
No. I know some people feel like, he was a terrible choice. It's like, no, you got to understand like what they were trying to do. You can't have Wesley on a TV show. At this point, Wesley was still a big name.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to do TV. Film actors going to TV at this point was still kind of hit or miss with some of that. And Wesley wasn't there yet. It's too bad.
No.
I would have preferred more of a Blade 4. We still might. But
We'll
I'd like it. I know a lot of us would. We'll see.
Disney would just kill him just so they could fucking kibosh it once and for all and go about making their own money.
Yeah.
That's what they did with Star Wars. Kill the original cast so we can make money with our new cast.
Oh, yeah. Reboot, remake, reset. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
But, this was a fun show. Some of the final thoughts I have are the theme song's fun. That's why I was able to put that at the beginning. The opening credit video, killer. Performances are pretty good overall. Nothing feels like it was phoned in. They all certainly tried. I do feel like Jill and Sticky, you know, characters who played Marcus, Neil, and Chase, of course. Main crew here was top notch, and they had some fun little guest stars here and there. Totally appreciate the show. Totally worth watching. To be honest, I give it a recommend to at least watch it. This was on Tubi for a while, everybody. We were watching it there, and then all of a sudden it got yanked off Tubi. So
Because we
both
were
Kevin and I
watching
had
it.
to resort to YouTube or me digging out my DVD set. So,
But your DVD set had them titties.
yeah, unrated and uncut. So if you find the home video, like I would normally do a little link for this, but this is finding you can't really find brand new copies of this. You got to find like used copies. So,
Yeah.
and
I'll get it
I just
eventually.
tell everybody go to eBay. You can get them off Amazon. They're about like 20 to 30 bucks. But
Yeah, and it is worth it. I would rate this a 6 out of 10. I really would. Like,
yeah, I'd go about 6 out of 10 too. That's pretty fair. I mean, there's nothing I absolutely hate about this show other than the Whistler references. I found to be very annoying.
yeah. The fights
Fights were dope.
were dope. I could have used a little bit more of them, but
Yeah,
you have to take away some drama to leave way
that
for
would have been
those
fine.
fights. Yeah.
Drop a couple plot points and just give us more blade fighting and kicking ass.
Drop some relationship angst.
Yeah, like the whole Bad Blood episode is old gang buddy episodes.
Yeah,
There was one guy still alive who we never saw again in the second episode of that little story arc. I'm like, oh dear God, we're already like ignoring shit from your own damn show.
we'll retcon it next season.
That's where I put this on the writers and editors to be like, hey, this doesn't make sense. I won't even blame some of the directors because you had like Felix Alcala, who's directed many TV shows, including Brimstone, and you also have Ken Girardi, who has directed a few episodes of like First Wave and other shows in Vancouver, including Stargate SG-1. So you got some television directors here who are very good at their job, but there's also names I didn't recognize. And I'm like, part of the problem is I think writers and David Goyer were like, no, we want to have it this way. And they tried it so hard to that point of somebody finally said, can't do it that way. Just can't do it that way. And we got to start fixing some of this. And it took them a little too long and it was a little too late. And unfortunately, the show got canceled for low ratings. And I actually believe that.
I could see that. I could see that making the rating suffer.
I don't think the budget really did too much damage, though. This did not scream expensive, even though everything looked pretty good.
It did look really good, and the explosions and stunts looked really good, and that's what made me think it was probably expensive.
Yeah.
And the erods were involved, so that also tells me it was expensive.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I did catch their name in the credits.
I hate them. I totally do. I always have.
Is there a reason
Like,
why, or just
the early days in Marvel, they were really just about pimping out the characters without.
oh,
Okay, so you know how people really hate the Sony Marvel movies?
yeah.
They're the ones that are still involved with Sony. So when you get really poor
Oh.
quality in Sony Marvel, it's because of Avia Rad and Area Rad and how they don't have that QA that Kevin Feige does or that Marvel Studios does. They never did. And that's why I'm really glad that they had nothing to do with Iron Man and anything beyond but that. Like, they stuck with Sony.
Okay. I see what you're getting at now.
Yeah, I always hated them for the X-Men movies being bad, the Spider-Man movies being bland compared to the comics. Like, I never liked the Arads.
Oh, yeah. I get you. Well, Kevin, got any final thoughts before we say goodbye to everybody?
I love this picture.
All hail Jill Wagner.
That's my final thought. It's this was cool. I'm glad we finally watched it.
Yeah.
It's not the worst television adaptation that I have ever seen. It's not the worst Marvel television adaptation that I have ever seen.
She-Hulk.
Even
I'm
that
kidding. I'm kidding.
that might not be, but that's up there. That's pretty much up there. Inhumans and Agents of Shield might be the worst. Anyway, yeah.
I liked Agent Carter.
Agent Carter was cool. I like that one.
2 seasons.
Was there 2?
It was 2 seasons. Yep.
Very groovy.
Like that show, but yeah, I like this. I have this in my collection. I've had it for a very long time. I absolutely do not mind keeping it around, and I'll probably watch it again at some point. So I enjoy it enough, and there's enough fun stuff going on. So I appreciate it. Hope you all appreciated catching our review. This might have felt a little disjointed at times. We're trying to navigate the complexity of a plot here. That's mostly what was going on. And, we've had some other shows like, Tales from the Crypt, when their stories are pretty singular and anthology in style, it's a little bit easier to go over them. Friday the 13th, Tales from the Crypt. When we get into a show like this, it gets a little different. But this is basically our new format, so we appreciate everybody joining in, and thank you all for tuning in. We will see you all on the next one.